Evening, everyone, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. A very big night this evening. 3 hours from now, President Trump, he will deliver his first State of the Union address. It comes as his approval rating sits at historic lows, 36%, with more than half disapproving. He will make a call for unity. Let's go to Lana Zach live on Capitol Hill with the latest.
President Trump has been busy practicing his speech, and we understand from the White House that this message will be an uplifting one. He told a group of journalists today that unlike being a businessman, he has found in the first year of his presidency that governing requires a lot more heart.
The state of our union is great, it's healthy, it's prosperous, everything is going the right direction.
As President Trump puts the final touches on his first State of the Union address, members of Congress are making their own assessments.
Look, the state of our union is economically, it's very strong right now, but our country is very divided, and it's polarized, and there's a lack of trust.
The White House says that unifying the country will be one of President Trump's primary goals tonight. Only a few people in the White House know exactly what he will say, but the attendees in the First Lady's box always provide some insight. Among the announced guests, a family that benefits from the tax plan, small business owners, and two families whose daughters were killed by the MS-13 gang, often tied to illegal immigration. In fact, immigration has been one of the most fiercely debated issues recently in Washington, and many members will bring dreamers to the speech.
I would like to see that there is some bipartisan support and support from the president to pass legislation.
But the other major topic, the Russia investigation, is unlikely to get a mention, says former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
And I think if he gets in and gets down that rabbit hole, he tends to get angry about it. And that's not the person you want to see tonight.
A handful of Democratic lawmakers say they will be boycotting tonight's speech, but in a show of solidarity, members from both sides of the political spectrum who support bipartisan immigration reform say that they, in fact, will be wearing both blue and red tonight. Reporting live from the Capitol, Lana Zach, ABC News. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Lana. Now, our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman, he has been on Capitol Hill all day long, and he's live there. He's been speaking with lawmakers from both sides of the aisle, including Senator Chris Murphy, a very vocal Democrat from Connecticut on a whole host of issues, Andrew. And I know I had a lot to say about the state of our union.
Without the ability for...
Yeah, he does, Rich, and it's interesting because you and I spend so much time focused on the policy prescriptions and pushes that come from a president on State of the Union Day, but it's not that often that we actually stop to try to get a sense of what the state of our union actually is. And, you talk to lawmakers from around the country and from different parties, and everybody seems to have a slightly different take based on their perspective, but also based on what their potential future plans might be. That includes Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut. His name has been bandied about as a possible presidential candidate in 2020, and so you might expect his take on the State of the Union to focus on things like Russia and the Mueller investigation, or DACA and immigrants, and certainly those are issues of concern, but it wasn't the totality of where he thought the State of the Union was. He was much more focused on the economy and how it's doing. Take a look. Senator, it's State of the Union night. How would you describe the state of our union here in January 2018?
Well, it's anxious. This has been a really difficult year for a lot of Americans, a lot of uncertainty for people with pre-existing conditions, not knowing if the health care law was going to stick around, for immigrant children who aren't sure whether they're going to be separated from the rest of their family. I have low expectations for the president's speech tonight, but I hope he acknowledges the fact that this has been a difficult year for the country.
This is usually a day reserved for going through specific issues and seeing where we've been and what's to come. Is the single biggest issue in the country today the President of the United States, at least in your mind?
The biggest issue in the United States is the economy. When I talk to people in Connecticut, they certainly are not happy with President Trump, but they're first and second and third talking about pocketbook issues, their wages, their retirement, how much money they are saving for college. I think this town is really focused on Donald Trump and the soap opera that surrounds him. But people in Connecticut, they pay attention to what the president does, but they really want to hear what Washington is going to do to get them more money.
There's an interesting divide in the country right now. People think the economy is doing well, but they don't necessarily credit President Trump with that. And in addition, the stock market is doing well, but I'm not sure people individually feel like they're getting wealthier. What's been your experience in talking to your constituents in Connecticut?
I don't know that people in Connecticut think that this economy is humming. They may see the statistics, unemployment going down, but they don't see more money in their pocket. Their wages have been frozen. Their costs are going up. And they worry when they see a tax reform bill where 80% of the benefit accrues to the top 1%. So I think people in Connecticut are not confident that this economy is fundamentally better than it was a year or so ago. Listen, presidents always get too much credit and too much blame for good economies and bad economies. This was true under President Obama, and it's true under President Trump as well.
Businesses certainly seem to be doing well in this administration, or at least since the election. Is that not getting through to individuals, or is there a sense that it's just delayed?
Well, corporate profits don't matter to people in Connecticut unless that translates in additional wages for them. So what we want to see is not the corporate bottom lines improving, but wages increasing, people's pensions getting bigger. And we just haven't seen that yet. It seems that corporate profits are bigger than ever, but it doesn't seem like that is trickling down to people, on Main Street.
Senator, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Senator Chris Murphy there with his take on the State of the Union. Interestingly, Russia and the Mueller investigation, not the ubiquitous topic that you might expect among the lawmakers that we talked to today. Some were eager to bring it up, but most only got into Russia or Mueller when prompted or when questioned. Much more of a focus on pocketbook issues and even things like immigration instead of Russia and Mueller. So perhaps a little bit out of proportion to the kind of attention that those developments get in some of the media coverage. But Rich, a lot of focus on the bottom line today. The president's going to argue that the economy is doing gangbusters. A lot of Democrats are going to say, yeah, but it's not reaching down to people. It's just staying primarily with businesses and the top 1%. Rich?
Obviously, all in the backdrop of all the scandals. I know we'll talk later on in the program, and you spoke to Chris Himes, who's on the Intelligence Committee in the House, which has been a lot of what the focus has been today, and with more updates from the president on that. But if you closed your eyes, Andrew, and you spoke to more than a dozen lawmakers today, could you tell who's Republican and who's Democrat, given the division that's in this country? Does it play along party lines?
Actually, I think you could. In terms of the issues of concern, that was a bipartisan issue. The economy is a big concern. Jobs are a big concern. It's their takes on it. How is the economy doing? Are the benefits of the economy reaching the middle class, reaching workers? That's a partisan split. The employment levels, I would hear from Democrats that a lot of this goes back to President Obama. The bigger decision, the bigger dividing line is on issues like immigration and other things like that. So, yeah, the actual topics, no, those are somewhat ubiquitous and evenly divided among both parties, but their takes on those, well, that was pretty clear. Yeah, if you closed your eyes, you knew which party member you were talking to, Rich.
And do you think folks just want to get through tonight, or some people are actually anxious for tonight? And I say that because the president said that there's going to be major news he was going to mention about North Korea. One wonders if he's going to talk about who's got bigger buttons, or the Rocket Man, or whatever else, Fire and Fury. Is there any concern, or do they think he's just going to stick to script and everybody's going to be all right?
The sense that I got is that most people seem to think that he's going to stick to script. I don't think there's a huge concern about news that's coming. And let's be honest, there's been a little bit of a temper that we've seen among people on Capitol Hill, among lawmakers, that roll with the punches in this Trump administration, that just because topic A is the agenda right now doesn't mean it necessarily will be an hour from now, or 3 hours from now, or 24 hours from now. Such has been the rolling wave of news and headlines and other issues that have popped in throughout the course of the Trump administration. So my sense is that we'll play this one moment, 1 hour, one speech at a time, Rich.
Well, we're going to obviously have a lot more with Andrew throughout the course of tonight. He spoke to Republicans and Democrats. You'll hear that this hour from our region. Also, that conversation with Jim Himes, fascinating in terms of the developments as it relates to the Russia probe. We will be live starting, obviously, throughout this hour, but right before 9 o'clock, we will have preview of the address and take the address in its entirety. And then after that, I'll be joined by my panel to go over what we just heard, and Andrew have live reaction from the Hill as well. All right, coming up next, we'll bring in our political panel, 2 former congressmen, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, taking a look at the issues facing our country tonight and what the president's expected to say and how they think this will all go over. Stay with us.